Joe Biden, no public events today that we know of. Also, have to check again, but haven't really seen a full-throated, rebuttal or rebuke of the violence we saw last night in Washington, D.C. You guys have seen the video. Many Trump supporters were attacked at the, outside in Washington, D.C. yesterday. One person had liquid thrown at him, his bicycle knocked down, was taken from him. We also saw people cold-cocked, one guy knocked to the ground, his cell phone stolen. Let's talk more about this and welcome in Kristen Tate, an analyst at Young Americans for Liberty. She's also the author of The Liberal Invasion of Red State America. Benny Johnson's also joining us this Sunday. He is the Chief Creative Officer at Turning Point USA. Benny, Kristen, great to see you both.
Great to be with you, John.
And sadly for a lot of folks, they might see this video and think this is old video or file video. But Benny, this is new video, but the tactics are similar. The same techniques used by Antifa and BLM supporters attacking Trump supporters. What are we supposed to do with this now, Benny? And this obviously is meant to have a chilling effect, but I don't think that's going to work.
So I was at the march yesterday, and I saw over a million peaceful protesters marching in support of their president. It was a patriotic march. People held American flags. They were proud of their country. Many of them were veterans, families, women, small children. There were also many people of all stripes that were marching together in support of their president and their country. Now, compare that to the left, which marched in a black bloc formation with a sign that says, "We will punch MAGA supporters in the face." And they behaved exactly like their sign said they would. They went out and sought violence everywhere that they could. It's remarkable to me that the people who behave the most like fascists in this country are the ones who claim to be anti-fascist. They attacked women, they attacked children, they attacked the elderly, they attacked young Americans. One of the videos yesterday, chilling, was a young couple. The woman was crying. They were savagely attacking them. This is political terrorism. This is domestic terrorism, and it should be stamped out from our society.
We've seen that video, Kristen. I commented that it's far too familiar, like what we saw coming out of the Republican National Convention there at the White House that night. Fortunately, we saw Rand Paul attacked, unfortunately, that night as well. But, Benny just mentioned that couple walking through the streets, and another man pushed to the ground. Where is the condemnation from Joe Biden on this? Because we know that people weren't boarding up their businesses to protect against the Trump supporters being angry over the election results. That never happened. We didn't see them instigate this violence last night. And again, also the media coverage here. This morning when I woke up, I was trying to research this story. Most of the headlines, Kristen, seem to blame the Proud Boys for what happened last night.
Yeah, there's clearly a culture of permissive violence that's exploding on today's left. And, bit by bit, this kind of behavior becomes escalated and then it gets normalized. But really, John, nobody should be surprised to see these kinds of incidents occur when for years now, the left and the media have been telling their constituents and their readers and their viewers that Trump and all of his supporters are xenophobic racists. We have national Democratic leaders, including Joe Biden, calling Trump a racist as though it's a fact. We all heard Eric Holder tell Democrats, when they go low, we kick them. So, of course, the natural extension of this kind of rhetoric is actual violence. We have been watching, Antifa members and BLM members burning down businesses and terrorizing business owners and residents for months on end now. They seem to do it with impunity. We see conservatives like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Ted Cruz get shouted out of restaurants by angry left-wing mobs. Of course, we saw Steve Scalise get shot in a baseball field by a crazed left-winger. So this is where we are today. And, I don't see the same kind of violence happening on the right. And Benny is absolutely right. It needs to be condemned and it needs to be stopped now.
And Benny, and Kristen too, you guys both know this because you look at the granular information in some of these congressional races we saw. We still don't know the outcome of the presidential race, but we do know a lot the outcome. And we're seeing every single day almost another Republican elected to the House. Young Kim yesterday in California elected to the House. And we can talk about all the women too elected. And that's really where I think we're seeing the rebuke, Benny, from voters here on this issue specifically. They're pushing back against this stuff, and it's starting in these House races. And you're going to see a groundswell of support coming up from there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly with Donald Trump clearly performs very, very well. Conservative ideas perform very, very well with men. But I was at the march yesterday with my wife and my infant child, and we left the march early because it was clear that something was brewing. We were trying to get to the march on Capitol Hill. I've lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years. I've seen many marches of many stripes come through this city. I have never seen one where I had to walk by a paramilitary-looking force of Antifa, which were gathering in order to start attacking Trump supporters right there adjacent to the Capitol. We walked by that with my stroller, with my infant, and I said, we need to leave. Something bad is about to happen. This is a paramilitary domestic terrorist force. They claim this, and they state clearly their fascist intentions. And so Antifa is a fascist group. It should be shut down. And when my wife we have to leave and she doesn't feel safe in her own city, that's going to lean heavily on women and mothers across this country saying, we don't want this in our community. Defunding the police, terrorist organizations running through our streets rampant, burning down businesses, attacking families like mine. You're going to swing the women vote. And you saw that in this election. You also have seen a historic number of women elected to Congress. And so you're beginning to see the down ballot results of this domestic terrorism that the left is full on embraced.
And I think that also is along the same common thread that we saw from this backlash of women, Chris, during the Kavanaugh hearings. They see this kind of narrative perpetuated from the left, and they reject it out of hand because it's not what they stand for.
People see exactly what's going on. I mean, the left is watching its base basically devolve into a bunch of angry, violent fools with no message who like to burn down buildings, block traffic and harass Trump supporters. And this kind of left-wing violence has been on the rise since Trump's inauguration day. On that day, if you'll remember, police officers indicted 200 rioters. Multiple officers were injured that day, and millions of dollars worth of property damage was created. Leftists love these platitudes like unity and civility, but then they use those platitudes as cudgels to silence their political opponents. And if you say something they don't like, they will show up and protest at your place of work or your college. They will create violence, and they will just create destruction. So This is all part of why Trump supporters often just don't, vocalize their political leanings, and why it was so hard to measure that huge Trump support before this election, because people just don't want to be targeted.
And that's it. That's the chilling effect that people want. But again, you see the disingenuous nature of the coverage here from the media. You see the backlash from the voters. It's just one thing at a time. Benny, we'll have you come back. I want to get more of your firsthand account of being there. Kristen's also going to join us and come back in the second hour. Folks can also, of course, catch the Benny Report every Saturday here at 7:30 Eastern. A great program, and we love the Benny Report, and we love Kristen's work as well. We'll see you guys in the next hour. Until then, we'll see you again in the next hour. Take care.